How porn decreases your motivation. I'm Dr. Trish Leigh. Let me tell you how. Today we're going to talk about 3 primary aspects of how your motivation gets crushed by porn use, what happens in your brain while that's happening, and how to get yourself not only motivated to leave porn behind, but more importantly, motivated to get on purpose in your life so you can rock it out. Okay, number 1, let's talk about where does motivation come from? Motivation, believe it or not, comes from your brain. Shock me, right? Yep, so we think of motivation as this concept, but motivation actually has been broken down into 3 subprocesses that are happening in the brain. And these processes happen in a combination of neural activity and flurry between the frontal cortex and the reward centers that are more in the midbrain but have been located over your ears but deeper in. So there's this activity and this back and forth between those areas that make it so that, first of all, you become motivated, and secondly, you can maintain motivation, stay motivated towards your life goals so you can be on purpose. Now we know that porn use disrupts these neural mechanisms and makes it so not only does it become difficult to leave the habit behind, it also becomes difficult to feel motivated about your life anymore. So if there's one takeaway from this video, this is what I want you to know. You haven't lost your spark for life. You have not lost your motivation. It is being stolen from you on a daily or weekly, hopefully not hourly basis by pornography consumption. It is stealing it from you. It is in there still. And it is your time to recover that spark and that motivation and grab it, teach it to get moving in the right direction again. And I'm going to show you how. So this is what I want you to know. We know from the science that when you consume pornography frequently, consistently, and especially with any level of intensity, that your brain is being damaged. Those neural circuits are being fried. They are going haywire. They are not working the way that they're supposed to. So the communication between those areas is thrown off in the first place. And secondly, those 2 areas, frontal lobe and reward center, are not working the way that they should. So that impacts your feelings of motivation. And it goes back to that dopamine flood that you are giving your brain. In effect, you are numbing your brain out so much that it no longer wants to get going in your life to achieve anything for yourself anymore in terms of your purpose in your work, in your relationships, in your hobbies. So what happens is when you go back to the screen, your brain is being flooded with dopamine and it's making you feel seemingly good in the moment. And I always call dopamine the neurotransmitter of seeming pleasure. Well, guess what? It's actually the neurotransmitter of motivation towards reward. So in this video, I would like you to think about dopamine as that neurotransmitter that's motivating you to go back to the screen over and over and over. So when we change the way that your brain uses dopamine, we can heal the reward center in the mid areas of your brain. We can reactivate the frontal lobe and get it moving again and firing on all 4 cylinders. Get those synapses cranking so that you become motivated again. Okay, so let's talk about the 3 processes that are happening in the brain during this overall process of maintaining motivation. So the first process is that reward-seeking behavior. Now this is more of an automatic process in the brain. The brain learns that certain activities are highly rewarding to it, and it becomes linked in terms of that motivation towards that activity through the neurotransmitter dopamine. So dopamine links where you're getting the pleasure to the need to go back to it for in the case of pornography, to take the edge off and to get this dopamine flood. But that first initial, more automatic behavior is reward-seeking behavior, where your brain learns certain activities give me dopamine, so I want to continue to go back there. And that's more automatic. Now, number 2 is value-based decision making. And this is a subprocess. So after your brain learns, I can go to pornography for a reward, I can have a beautiful dinner with my friends, that gives me a reward. I can go do my favorite hobby of water skiing, that gives me a big reward. In my work, I like to crunch the numbers the most, that gives me a reward. Not for this girl. Number crunching, that's very low on the dopamine producing list in terms of work. What's high is making videos and helping people heal themselves, but it becomes dopamine rewarding. And value-based decision making in terms of motivation is the second subprocess. Your brain learns where it gets the rewards, but it will start making decisions about where it's going to go, what it's going to do to get those rewards. Value-based decision making. This takes more neural energy, and you have to have some conscious control over it. We know that this primarily comes from the frontal lobe, executive function. Think captain of the ship. If you remember back to the video I made about the captain versus the gorilla, we want the captain to be able to make value-based decisions, use executive function skills, be able to plan and organize, and be able to take small action steps that get small rewards while continuing to move towards that larger reward and that larger goal in the end, executive function. So your brain is making these decisions about the value. When you watch pornography and you continue to go back into the screen, your brain learns that there's high value in the screen and there's little or no value in the work you do, in the people you hang out with, in the hobbies you have. So if you wonder, why aren't I motivated anymore to do the things that I used to like to do? Why don't I want to do my work? Why don't I want to hang out with my peeps? Why don't I want to go play soccer like I used to? It's because your brain has been taught to make a value-based decision that there's more dopamine and reward in the screen than there is in your life. And so if you just think about it this way, this is the amount of dopamine in the screen. This is the amount of dopamine in your life. Value-based decision, that's where your brain's taking you. So you have to reteach your brain that, albeit there's more dopamine in the screen, motivation towards pleasure seeking, it's seeming pleasure because it's going to motivate you to keep going back for pleasure seeking. That's not what you want in life. That's not a life of purpose. That's a life of constant hyperstimulation seeking that ends up damaging your brain and in the end making it so that you have brain fog and you can't think, you can't study, you can't do your work, you're at risk of being fired, you end up ruining your relationships. We know that divorce is double, breakups are double. We know that you might suffer from erectile dysfunction, which is not a thing that I want for you. You will struggle with performance anxiety when you're actually with another human being, and you should be enjoying that experience maximally and not worrying about the performance perception or having low self-esteem. You deserve to be able to thrive. So you have to teach your brain that the value is in those experiences, not in the screen. The value is in the work that you love and you contribute to the world and you have fun doing it. The value is in being with your honey and having that be a beautiful experience that's shared and erotic and fun and engaging and pleasurable and happiness and joy and bonding and connection. You teach your brain that's where the value is. You teach your brain that in your hobbies, like stand-up paddleboarding, where I'm going next, is where the value is. Teach your brain value decision making. I'm not valuing that anymore because it's frying my brain. I'm going to value my life, IRL, in real life. That's where the value is. Okay, so the third sub-process is goal-directed, wait for the word, and this is from a scientific study, goal-directed control. Control your brain or it will control you. So the third subprocess is goal-directed control. Being able to exercise some control over your neural processes, your brain processes, to maintain the motivation back towards the things that give your brain value based upon that value decision-making process and the reward seeking in the first place. So you have to decide where the rewards are at. On a moment-by-moment basis, you have to remind your brain through this value decision-making process, that's what I value. That's where the value is. And then you have to control your brain to keep going back to where the value is for the rewards. And when you do that, you are able to take those baby steps towards a larger goal by breaking it down into a smaller goal. Okay, so number 3, how do we do that in a practical sense? How do we change the way your brain is working so we can get you motivated back into life and maintain motivation there, especially to stay away from the screen, but to create a life that you love. You need to create a lifestyle, the infrastructure of a lifestyle, and I'm going to talk about that in an upcoming video. Create the infrastructure for a lifestyle that you love, that gives you dopamine, and that has value for you personally, not society, you personally. What makes you tick? And then create that in your life. That is how you can stay motivated. So I'd like to take concepts and make them into action steps. Your brain tip for the day is figure out what that lifestyle would look for you. What would it involve in your work? Who are the people you want in your life? Are you really getting value from the relationships? If you're not, it's time to have the difficult discussions with those people and get the value going again in terms of your sex life, in terms of your intimacy, in terms of your friendships. You have to grow up the emotional maturity to be able to move towards those people to get it back on track for value. Because if you don't, the screen's going to stay more powerful in terms of the value and pull you back in. So then in your hobbies, find the things that you like to do and start doing them. But here's what I'm going to tell you about motivation, is that you have to maintain control to be able to stay motivated. And what that looks like to me is that it is born out of discipline, it is born out of commitment and resilience, and it is born out of vigilance for the lifestyle that you want. So in the end, you're not vigilant against pornography use. You're vigilant and disciplined in continuing to create the lifestyle that you want across your entire life. It becomes very important. And I know how easy it is to get sucked back in to the stressors of life or the overwhelm or the ups and the downs. So being vigilant and making sure that you can stay the course in the life that you want, that is how you will stay motivated in the long run. But in the short run, you have to figure out what that life is. And secondly, create some discipline and commitment and vigilance towards establishing it in the first place and protecting it so that you can have it for the rest of your life. And when you do that, there will be no need for you to go back into the screen because the value's diminished and gone away. Okay, I hope that helps you out. You can get motivated in your life. Your motivation is being sucked out of you by pornography. I want you to know that. It is shown by science. And if you want to get motivated again, you can do it. Make some changes. Do what I'm encouraging you to do, and you'll get motivated and you'll be back moving towards your full potential, towards thriving. Let's do this thing. If you are looking for help on that journey, reach out to me, drtrishleigh.com. I'd love to help. And as always, remember, control your brain or it will control you.